Hello there, and welcome to the Our Time Film Podcast, where we talk film, TV, games, and all that jazz that is tomorrow. This week, we're talking about the top 10 best films of 2021. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, John. Happy New Year, dude.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Woo. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it this year, but
No.
2022. But I mean, we got some great films that's coming out in 2022.
We do. Next week, we're going to be talking about all of our most anticipated films of the year, and there's going to be some real good ones. But for us, we're recording this on the 30th, so we might not make it through 2021. There's one day left. We might die. You never know. But yes, so I hope everyone had a good New Year. There's been quite a few films this year, haven't there?
Yeah, but there's a lot of films that I missed this year, especially that I heard there were amazing. So if you're like ranting down in the comments like, why hasn't he included this film? Like, I'm sorry, I haven't seen them.
Well, let's get straight into it. So if you guys haven't seen any of our ranking videos before, what we do is we each kind of, take it in turns to say each of our things. So do you want to go first? Give me a number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is No Way Home.
Ah, very nice.
The reason why it's at number 10, well, you got to be probably thinking like, there's some of the great films he included, but no. But the reason why I'm putting it at number 10 is because for the experience. Like, the experience watching No Way Home was just fantastic. Like, seeing Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire on screen was just pretty cool. Like, it was great to see that. And there were some great moments that I really enjoyed. Even though it's a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 film for me, I thought it was just really cool. But again, the reason why it's just like a bit like a top 10, it's not the best film this year. It was just one of those films I needed to watch because 2021 was just an incredibly bad year with some of the stuff that happened. But No Way Home just gave me a bit of hope. So yeah, 2
weeks ago we did an episode of No Way Home, so you want to hear more of our thoughts on that. I agree with you. No Way Home, it's not the best film of the year, but I mean, for me, on my ranking of the year, I've seen 62 films this year, and No Way Home comes in at 32, so it's just in the second half of my ranking. And it is an experience. So much more than anything it is quality wise. It's a big experience. There is an importance to it in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing. My number 10 is The Father.
Oh, The Father. I haven't seen that.
Right. Okay. So this film, I guess, will go down in history as the film to win Anthony Hopkins his Oscar instead of Chadwick Boseman. So, like, very controversial, that choice.
Yeah.
Having seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I really couldn't tell you whose performance was better. But this film definitely does rely on the performance of the main two performers, Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman, both of whom are incredible. And what we're seeing here is a man with Alzheimer's who, is just going down a spiral of confusion. And he spends the whole plot being told one thing and then being told something different. And as a viewer, you are taking on this experience with him. And what's so good is how the film makes you so confused. Until the end, you don't feel for him. You feel like you are part of it, and you feel the same emotions that he does, the same kind of confusion, even though you haven't lived in this house that he is not recognizing. And the way that the film works with all these different elements of the mise en scène, and even the actors, sometimes there are actor swaps, and it really works, to solidify that confusion, which all comes around beautifully at the end with probably his best acting scene where he really loses it. And you just see this man who is just broken down and so sad. And it's amazing. It's a beautiful performance, and it's done really well. I would have given this is a solid 9 out of 10. And I think the only thing that I would say about it is I would really like it to, as I say, it leans into these mise en scène bits, but it never really leans into the musical aspect. There's a trait of the character where he listens to opera music, and I would have really liked the film to explore that a little bit more and use that as part of his confusion. But yeah, it was incredible, and he definitely deserved the Oscar. Did he deserve it over Chadwick? I can't say, but yeah, it's amazing. Definitely one of the best of the year.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he got an Oscar, but I can't argue because I haven't seen the film, so I can't be like, hey, you should Chadwick Boseman got an Oscar.
Anthony Hopkins didn't even show up to the Oscars. I mean, I guess even he didn't think he would win it because they even moved the best actor to the final placement, like as an honor to Chadwick. And then it was very strange decision indeed. But yeah, no, it is an incredible film.
My number 9 is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes, I thought this was one of the highlights of this year of films because you hear Zack Snyder earlier this year, like he was like a massive film director, especially if you know about the movement that started this whole thing. But seeing the film was something special. I mean, again, it's one of the best films I've seen this year, but I thought it's just about the emotion, the way that Zack Snyder really wanted to have this vision alongside with the characters, alongside with some of the stuff. But the one downfall to this whole amazing film was that the soundtrack. And the soundtrack. But there's so much passion and so much fun with this film that they had with Zack Snyder really being careful about these characters. Like you've seen it earlier in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. But if you really want more depth about that, you can watch the Zack Snyder cut about that. There was a lot of stuff that I really liked that was explored, especially this one character, Darkseid. He finally appeared in the film, and that was like mind blowing, and like hearing the voice, like where did the Armadas were going the old ways. And one thing that I really liked was like Cyborg being the heart of the film, having that satisfaction of seeing a director's full vision. It just brings back a lot of joy and happiness as well, and especially seeing more Flash. It's just the soundtrack that was just like a massive downfall. But yeah, it was just a great film. But it's 4 hours long. I mean, I sat through it all of it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, it's not a masterpiece, but I just thought it was just one of the best films that I truly experienced this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's such a moment. Not only were we so wronged with the original cut of Justice League, but, you know, Zack Snyder was as well. And, you know, we were definitely part of the movement to be like, you know, this needs to happen. And so many people were, and it was so important. And the superhero genre, it hurts me so much the amount of times this story has happened. A director will have their vision robbed from them. You know, we've been talking a lot recently about Spider-Man. Think about Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2. It really is tragic. And, you know, this being the film that got it, you know, with such horrible circumstances with Autumn Snyder, it was so important. And yeah, I mean, for me, similar to No Way Home, this comes in at number 33 for me. I agree with you about the soundtrack, and I think there are other couple of things, but I think this is leaps and bounds better than Justice League, and it means so much that, you know, it will always have a place. I feel like this film was ruined by expectation, but I am adamant that when I rewatch it in the future, I will like it more because I'll know what I'm getting into, and I won't be thinking that there's more than there actually was, because those trailers basically told us everything that was in it, and therefore I wasn't surprised, and that's okay. But yeah.
Tom, what is your number 9?
Well, my number 9 is a film called Shiver Baby, and this is a film about a young girl who is just about to go to college, I believe, and she goes to Shiva, which is like a Jewish wake, I believe. I might be wrong about that, but I watched it a while ago, so let's just say that it's a Jewish wake. And when she's there, she runs into, so it's like, it sounds it's like the premise goes from like 10 to 100. She when she's there, she runs into her sugar daddy and his family. And she also runs into her ex-girlfriend, and her family are there, both of which don't know that she has a sugar daddy and 2 had a girlfriend. And it's just about the pressures of society and of expectation and of your family and of being secretive and being loyal. And it is amazing. It really, you know, similarly to The Father, it just puts you slap bang in the middle, and it makes you feel so much for this girl, you know, who, you know, incredibly acted as well. I don't know the actress's name, but did an incredible job. What it does so well is that it just takes you through this one place, this one kind of party, and it doesn't really, like, some of the scenes in the beginning are before the party, but all you get is the party. And it feels like, you know, you go to like a party of like your grandparents, and there'll be like old people there who will be like, oh, I knew you when you were young, and you're just kind of forced into a conversation with somebody who you don't know, who is just kind of telling you all these things, and you're just kind of, I just want to go to the toilet or something. It's very much like that, and you feel like you're being strung through, and the pressures that she feels, you get those same pressures. And what it does so well is that it builds the relationships that she has with all these different people. And, you know, you can feel, you know, the betrayals and the complexities that goes with being young and discovering yourself. And I would have liked there to be a little bit more with our main character and her family, specifically like her mum and dad. But at the end of the day, you know, it does so many of these different relationships so well, and it makes you feel so claustrophobic while at the same time reaffirming you that when you need them, your family and the people who love you will be there. Yeah, it's just so good. And I always love it in times when, you know, you'll see a film that you just haven't heard of, and you'll watch it not really knowing much going in. It's kind of opposite to the Snyder Cut, where I was just full of expectation. I didn't know anything about Shiver Baby. I didn't really expect anything, and then straight away it was like, oh no, this is amazing. And it really was. It was incredible.
Okay, wow, that's something to watch.
It's great. So yeah, what's your number 8?
Okay, so once again, I'm just gonna say that my first half of the list is all superhero based.
Nice. I feel like I can
so-
guess what's coming.
Okay, you can say it.
Is this next one Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So Shang-Chi, I was really fascinated by the film's cinematography, like Bill Pope doing all the camera work, doing the fight scenes, and it was just really cool to watch in the cinema. And I just felt like it was just fresh and brand new to watch. I remember talking about it.
Yeah, we do have a video on Justice League, Shang-Chi, any of the main comic book films this year. You can check out our thoughts on them.
There's some things that were left out, or like some stuff that happened in the film. Like at the end, spoilers, like the massive dragon that was a bit dragging on at the end. Like what they're going to do with it.
It's a bit dragging on.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Funny. But with the soundtrack, that was the other thing I really liked, was the soundtrack. And and there was a great song that I really liked when Shong and Katie go into Macau, and that song playing in the background is sung by Sway Lee, who did the Spider-Verse.
Sunflower, yeah.
And that was what I realized. But I just felt like it was just all like really reminiscing like the old anime style they used with the cinematography, and it felt like, wow, it was just so cool. I said that again. It's so cool. Oh my god. But really, I just thought these were the films that I enjoyed this year. But yeah, what's your number 8, Tom? Come on, please. I don't.
Well, I was gonna say Shang-Chi. I agree with you. I think it kind of loses it at the end, but I think that it has some really good stuff. The action is incredible, and I think the story that it tells and the characters is something that never ceases to amaze me, that the MCU can keep on bringing out like stories that I think are really human and really impressive. And obviously I think you're a lot more amazed by it than I am, but I think that a lot of the stuff in that film really stands out, because they're doing like different, you can tell that it's a different director, even though sometimes it doesn't kind of come through. And I think that's what's most important in these films, in any comic book films. The director is so important to the reception of it, or the way that it all comes out. My number 8 is Supernova. So
Supernova, Colin Firth and Stanley Tucci.
That's right. So it's a film about two people in a van, and one of them, so Colin Firth's character, is a musician, and he's going to do a performance something. And Stanley Tucci's character, his boyfriend, is going with him, and so they're going on this road trip. And Stanley Tucci's character is dying. He's beginning to forget who he is and have memory issues. It's an exploration of love and life, and when it's okay to let this love go. Throughout the film, they go to different places and they meet strangers and they meet friends and family that they already knew. And it's all whimsical. It spends the whole narrative just looking back like through rose-tinted glasses on just a beautiful life. And it's almost like It's a Wonderful Life in the way that it reflects on these aspects. And I think it does it so well. And the way that the narrative builds the connection, particularly between these two characters and the love that they have for each other, it's excellent. The way that the film ends, and it ends with a beautiful piano performance from Colin Firth's character. It speaks so many words just with nothing. There are a couple of times when I do think the film struggles delivering exposition, but what it does so well is just having scenes of the two of them just talking to each other. You can tell that these people are in love and have been in love for years, and this love and the performance of the two main actors, it comes out so well just by their performances. The script lifts them up. I think that is the best part of the film. I would say, it does struggle delivering exposition as well, but I think the main kind of core of the story is so powerful, and it's an emotional one. It's a film that considers, what do you do when the person that you love the most could leave this world? Where do how does one go on? I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Wow. Yeah, there's some great films that I watch superhero films like, no. But,
hey, we all watch superhero films, man. So yeah, what's your number 8? Oh wait, your number 7. You're number 7. You've
7.
already
It's going to be number 7.
I think I know.
I thoroughly enjoyed this superhero film, The Suicide Squad. Don't get confused with Suicide Squad 2016. We don't want to talk about that film, but no, we got a massive improvement. The Suicide Squad. This was a crazy film. There's a lot of stuff that really explored a lot of different characters like Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Harley Quinn, and with the chemistry on screen, it was just great. And I felt like this was more alive than the other comic book films that I watched this year. The soundtrack with everything that was going on with the cinematography. I mean, look at the cinematography at the beginning, like how James Gunn used the puddle to reflect on Sivan. Yeah, it's Sivan. I love how it was just experimenting with different shots. And at the beginning, like the opening credits showing all the other members of the Suicide Squad just dead aground, like going through like it's like literally showing the film's premise and what's going to happen with these characters. Like if you look at the tagline of the film, and there's so many great moments that I really liked. Peter Capaldi, yeah, he was there. Yeah, he was great. And I thought it was just well balanced. But there's one moment that was just so weird to have, and it was like spoilers, to have Harley Quinn falling in love with the captain, I guess, with some leader.
Was he the president?
The president? I don't know, but that was just so unnecessary. I just don't know why. If you cut that out and being her imprisoned, that would be really cool. Like how she got out and not having this whole ordeal, like feeding birds or something. I don't know. And the parrots died. Oh yeah, they got killed.
Rest in peace, parrots.
Rest in peace to his squat.
No. We're already one episode in 2022, and he's brung out his parrot impression already.
Oh wow!
Strap in, folks. We're in for a ride this year.
But my favorite character from this film was like Bloodsport. Like that was like the highlight of the film. He was like really cool, and I loved how James Gunn used the old characters and used them in the most stupidest way ever. Like Polka Dot.
Yes.
Like, that was really great. And I loved how there was like so many dynamics between the characters like Ratcatcher and Bloodsport, and I thought that was really well worked with their backstories about, Ratcatcher's backstory about her father, learning to control rats, and learning about Bloodsport having this phobia of rats because of his father's abuse. And I thought their backstory just worked really well into the film and how we get attached to these characters. And King Shark, yes, King Shark.
Just the sweetest guy.
Oh man, but I mean, he's a shark that eats people. But anyway, I liked how King Shark was properly used in this. He was like very dumb, but also like kind to the other members. Like, dumb friends. Like you found some flesh-eating fish in that. I don't know what it was, but I thought it was just a great superhero film this year.
You can look at our Suicide Squad video as well, and we did the original Suicide Squad if you're interested. But no, I agree with you, man. Out of all the comic book films of the year, it's just the one that has remained in my head the most. James Gunn he's a genius. There's no two ways around it. Yeah. I absolutely loved what he did. As you say, he elevated it so much more above the original film, while delivering on the premise, and he never struggles to deal with so many characters. I do feel like I think you're right on the money with the Harley Quinn subplot. They kind of, the whole Corto Maltesian rebellion as well felt a little bit forced in there, but Rick Flag as well, a character in the first film who I couldn't have cared less for, in this one has some of my favorite moments. And the twist with Peacemaker, it's really cool. And hey, I'm excited for the Peacemaker TV show as well. I have no idea how we're going to watch it in the UK, but I'm sure that we will find a way.
I feel like that people are going to get some Justice Pirates and just going to go, yeah, we're going to find the Peacemaker TV shows, if you know what I mean.
We're gonna watch Peacemaker. Oh no, what have we done? It's 2022. John's a parrot. We're both pirates. This is it. We're gonna take the pod on a boat. We can be pirates together. This is just gonna get too much. Next episode, we're like, welcome to the Out of Time Film Podcast. We're gonna be talking about films of 2022.
Yes. But yeah, the Suicide Squad, that just rings out like one of the best films I've seen this year with the superhero. So best superhero film this year, I think.
It is. It's amazing. And while I said I want to take this moment to forcibly retract a statement, I said in our Eternals video that Eternals was better than Shang-Chi and Justice League and Suicide Squad. I now do not.
You said that.
I did say that. Okay. Whoa. Hold there. I like to retract that. I still do think it's better than a lot of people give it credit for, but after a lot of consideration, I do think that it's not quite as good as this other film, especially not the Suicide Squad. I was crazy. I was just excited to see Marvel do something different,
You
and I still
are
think it really.
crazy, man.
Yes, I
You
know.
are crazy.
I'm sorry. I just
Right,
wanted to make
okay.
something
Let's
beautiful.
just carry on. Let's just carry on. We don't want to go from this mess. Right,
You can
just
listen to our Eternals video as well if you want to, and hear me be
with
a little bit too
Joe.
positive about it. Yes,
With
Joe.
Joe as well. Right, Tom, what do you have at your number 7? Please don't be Eternals. Please, number 7.
My number 7 is Black Widow. I'm kidding. My number 7. My number 7 is Spencer.
Oh, my heart. Right. I haven't seen Spencer, but I really want to. I really want to see it.
Oh yeah, it's great. Now I gotta say, first of all, I don't really care about the royal family. I'm not the kind of person who's all about the people's princess.
Oh yes, the Queen Elizabeth and our tea and crumpets. Yeah. But no, it's really about we're going to the pub tonight.
All right, lads. No, honestly, on Christmas Day, my family wanted to watch the Queen's speech, and I have to say it was the most boring 10 minutes of my life. But yeah, no.
My grandma watched that.
Yeah, people do, don't they? But yeah, so Spencer. This is a story about Princess Diana in the 80s. I don't know when it's set, but point being is that this is a story about her going away with the royal family to the house that they all retreat to for Christmas for about 3 days, and it is just amazing. It's so tender. We have an incredible performance by Kristen Stewart. I gotta give mad props to her. She absolutely sells it. She's amazing. Her British accent is flawless, and she's just an amazing performer. If you'd have told me years ago that Edward Cullen and Bella Swan, I think that's the name, would have been like two of my favorite actors, I wouldn't believed you. But Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are incredible. And in this film, Kristen Stewart brings such an emotional performance, which is full of insecurity. Lady Di, she was bulimic, and like she really, didn't fit in with the royal family. And in this film, it's not a true story, but what it does is it builds on these things, and it does it so well. There's an incredible scene where she has to eat with the royal family, but there's so much pressure on her, and she doesn't eat like in the same kind of like quantities or at the same time as everyone else. So she's really struggling with it. It's just a scene that has so much tension, but it doesn't spit on the royal family either. There are moments as well where it humanizes them. There's a particular moment where the Queen talks to Diana, and it actually is like, oh, they don't have a particular stance. They're not saying, oh yeah, the royals were horrible to Diana, or Diana was horrible to them. It's very much empathetic of everyone involved. But I think the menace of the film is tradition, and it questions a lot about tradition, and especially with what we've got now with controversies around Meghan Markle and stuff like that. It really works well in today's landscape. I think it was incredible. It was very heavy-handed though. If there was one thing that I didn't like about it, it was extremely heavy-handed. The messaging of the film was like being slapped in the face by Anne Boleyn, and it was just like, okay guys, I get it. Stop there, please. But apart from that, it was so good. And if you'd have taken out a bit of that stuff, it would have been perfect. But yeah, it was amazing. And it was awesome, dude.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to watch it then. So for my number 6, I'm going to have Sound of Metal.
Okay. That's actually on my list. So let's wait until I hit that, and then we'll talk about it together. So my number 6 is Nomad Land.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I thought you had. Go. I thought it'd be on your list. Well, Nomad Land is directed by Chloe Zhao, and as we know, it won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress for Frances McDormand, and it might have won Best Screenplay as well. Or no, that might have been Promising Young Woman. And it is a film about Frances McDormand's character, who is a nomad, who is somebody who doesn't have a house, but lives in her van and kind of travels around, working in various places. And it is a beautiful study of life and freedom, and the perception of homelessness and true happiness, and the feeling of being home and belonging somewhere, whether that be in a community or in a city or anything like that. And it's so miraculously told. The things that it does are unparalleled. It's a film that doesn't feel the need to explain everything to you in the best possible way. And I think that it's just so endearing, And Chloe Zhao is such an intelligent filmmaker. The amount of things she does visually and the way that she presents friendships and, you know, love and pain and people just acting normally. Something that I think was really, really well carried over to Eternals. I think the indie crowd who loves Chloe Zhao will be annoyed that, you know, she didn't bring everything to her Marvel film, and not that she ever could because of the Marvel system. But, you know, I think that, you know, if anybody who did like what she did in Eternals, and you can see those moments, those human elements really coming through, Nomad Land is all about that. And yeah, like, it's not my favorite film of the year. It's not my favorite, you know, even if I compare it to films of last year, it's not my favorite film of last year either. And I can't say, I don't think it deserves the Oscar in my mind for Best Picture, but it was amazing. And I think it's a damn good winner because it is brilliant. The one thing that I didn't like about it was, you know, the ending felt abrupt. It felt like it kind of came out of nowhere, and the story wasn't giving us that message until it was. And I don't really want to spoil it, but, you know, what the ending says kind of feels at odds with the message of the film. But who knows, maybe a second viewing could rectify that. But yeah, Nomadland, fantastic. So what's your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is June. Sorry,
Oh, no.
the sound of June.
The sound of Hans Zimmer.
The cinema shaking from so much noise from the speakers. And June really fascinated this year because, I mean, it is confusing with some of the stuff that it was showing, like so many characters, so many planets, like Arrakis. But no, the cinematography was just cinema. Like how it really captivated, like the new planets. Like it was like watching Star Wars again, but more serious, a bit more like entrenched with what we're exploring here today. What we're going to explore within these 2 hours about these characters and what are their journeys. And this felt like the longest short film. Like, you'll get into the action, but then slowly just dragging on some of the parts as well and thinking about how does the story unfold. But we'll see that in part 2. And the way that the cinematography just really reflects on the story and how we connect with these characters. And, you know, with Paul trying to be the best as his father throughout the story. And the CGI was just also fascinating as well, how they do like massive scale of the ships. And the sound design, I gotta give credit to the sound design because that was just amazing, how they experimented with other different factions and how it works together in that film. And soundtrack, the soundtrack, yes, Hans Zimmer, that was really loud, but I just felt like that really gave you the reality of the film, like what's it going to be. And it was just really fascinating to watch. I thought it was like on an epic scale. And the one thing that really hurt me was that at the end when Zendaya was like saying this is the beginning, and I was like, oh, okay, we're getting into it, and then it just went and just went cut to this is the credits, and like, oh, but no, it was a great film. So yeah, top 5.
I agree with you. June was excellent. I definitely agree that, you know, it can get confusing and it comes to such an abrupt end. You know, it kind of makes you feel like, you know, like you haven't really gone anywhere. And when you think back, not much happens in the film, but then like it goes, you know, it packs so much in, and it's incredibly done. But I agree with you. It's got such atmosphere and its world building is so rich. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's excellent. For me, it comes in at number 16. So it's not too far away from the top 10. And yeah, Denis Villeneuve is such an intelligent filmmaker. He's got so much power behind the lens, and, you know, just everything in this is just cinema.
Right, Tom, what's your number 5?
Well, my number 5 is Last Night in Soho, and I'm going to predict that is on your list as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to be very surprised where that is.
Okay. So we'll wait until you hit that. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is The French Dispatch.
Right. For me, that comes in at number 17. So no, it doesn't make my top 10.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm like I'm Wes Anderson's biggest fan.
I'm just surprised that you, as Wes Anderson. No, I guess that Annette is in your. Is it in your top 5?
No, it's not. And that's my number. And that's my number 11. So it was so nearly in there, but then I watched Spencer and it got kicked out to the curb.
Oh my God. Okay, so The French Dispatch was another interesting film to watch on the big screen. This was my second Wes Anderson film to watch on the big screen.
Was your first Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Same. Yes.
So The French Dispatch. You can hear the rest of the thoughts on that, but I'm just going to give you a brief summary. I thought the short stories were just excellent, apart from the last one, because I thought the last one was really giving you a lot of emotion. It did, I mean, some of it, but it wasn't really fleshing it out. I thought the first two stories were just excellent. I thought the way that Wes Anderson just experimented on different ways, like it was so shocking to see like him using different aspect ratios, handheld camera. You just like, oh my god, he's doing everything different now. He like my brain just can't compete with this. I just thought the mise en scène and the cinematography was just beautiful in this film, like how each different prop or each different character's like gives a lot of meaning towards the film. And the first story was just it was just so funny. I thought this was like a feel good film to watch, about like it's just a wacky film, to be honest. I just thought it was just hilarious. And yeah, I just loved it. I don't know, I just can't say a lot, but I just really loved it.
This is definitely Wes Anderson changing the scope for what he does. His films are so precise and so planned down to every small detail. What he's doing here is he's rearranging the way that stories are told with these 3 short films and crafting individual characters in all of them, all told from different narrative perspectives. As you said, you've got his signature symmetry, you've got like sets moving, you've got shaky cam, you've got animated segments, you've got like POV on like a bicycle, and it's also like experimental and amazing, and I think it all works so well. But for me, the problem was just that I had literally just been to see Last Night in Soho, and I didn't have a break. I literally went straight into French Dispatch, and I didn't know, like, I couldn't tell where I was in the film. I didn't know when like each act was starting, didn't know when I was getting towards the end, and so I kind of got very tired of it. It's a similar story to Annette, and if you guys have seen our Shang-Chi video, maybe I talked about Annette then, but
Oh yeah,
I feel like definitely, and hey, I adore Wes Anderson so much, so there's not a shadow of doubt that I will be rewatching this film. But yeah, I feel like I'm yet to appreciate it fully, purely because when I did watch it, I was just in the cinema like, I'm very tired. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what's your number 3?
Number 4.
Number 4. Yep. Sorry.
Well, my number 4 is Sound of Metal. So that was your 7, 6,
Oh
7?
yeah.
That was your 6,
it was
right?
a bit hard. Yeah, it was a bit hard to mix around because I thought I saw this film, but I didn't. But then I don't know. My brain was just like, I turned it off. But yeah, so Sound of Metal. Yeah. When did it come out? Did it come out in April?
Nah, it came out in like February, something like that.
What?
I think you watched it in April because I remember it was the Wonder Woman 84 video, because when I was editing it, we had loads of audio problems. But I watched it. I watched it way after you on your recommendation. I have to say, yeah, it's such a good study of what matters most to somebody. Like it conveys panic and feeling of isolation so well. With the main characters growing deafness. I mean, Riz Ahmed is an incredible actor, and it just makes me see this and be like, wow, he was wasted in Star Wars and in Venom. He is such.
Oh yeah, he was.
Right. Yeah. He's such an amazing actor, and he builds his character so much, and you can really feel that sense of paranoia and anxiety that he has when he realizes these things, and going on that journey to unravel it and be okay with his condition, and his state of mind, which I think is amazing. And he's not the only person who is really good in it. Olivia Cooke as well is amazing.
Oh,
I think that's her name. And she's really, really good as his girlfriend. And the journey that he goes on, with her is great. And I want to say Lauren Ridloff's in it as well, who was Makari in Eternals. And I think that's really cool because everybody loved her in Eternals for good reason. And it's like, there she is again. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. And I thought Sound of Metal, again, this was just a personal film. It's about someone who's losing their hearing. And as for me, I lost my hearing at an earlier age, and I didn't know what that was like. But it was just really interesting to see how someone really older and who is really passionate about music, losing his hearing. That is just really heartbreaking. And he has to get used to sound, being deaf for a long time. And, he has to hear that sound and get used to it. And that's really painful. And it has great deaf representation. And as well, when, spoilers if you haven't seen this film, when he comes back with cochlear implants or hearing aids, and he isn't allowed to be there anymore because the boss has said that he isn't allowed to use something that would help his hearing. The core message of the film is trying to help people who are deaf, like how they're going to help with it, how they're going to cope with it. And especially it's shown at the end of the film when he fully realizes that his deafness makes him calmer. If you see that at the film, like it's silent, how it feels like what he said, like it was like the kingdom of God.
He realizes that it doesn't have to define who he is and what he can be and what he can do. And the moment that he lets go of that, I think is wonderful. It's a positive message as well. There'll be loads of people going through this kind of transition to affirm to people that this is okay. Such a way, I think it was great.
Yeah, I thought that was just really personal. I thought they did talk about the deafness a lot, and I really like that, and how music really connects other people. But and it was really heartbreaking as well, that one scene where he listens to his girlfriend singing and it's all static.
The sound mixing of the film as well is incredible, and it really puts you into when he gets his implants, it really puts you into the mindset of hearing everything electronically.
Yeah. Oh, that was so deja vu when I had the hearing test thing, when you see it on film where he gets his hearing back. That was weird to watch because that was like the same experience when I had the new implant when I was 11 or 10.
I remember that, yeah.
That was a weird experience. And and I'm glad they included that, because it's not like perfect when you get your hearing back. It's just like, it takes time to get on. And I think it took me months to get used to the sound in the ear. But yeah, that was a really personal film of mine.
All right, yeah, so what's your number 4?
No, is it number 3?
Yeah, okay, number 3, sorry.
My number 3? Yeah. No Time to Die. This is
No Time to Die for me is one of my honorable mentions. So, yes, tell me about it.
This was an unexpected film, because usually, I'm not really hyped up for the films. In the past, I just, yes.
How dare you? No, I get it. I mean, especially after Spectre as well. I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of Spectre, and I think this film, huge surprise.
Yeah, it was a huge surprise. The way that it connects back to the other films was just satisfying. Like at the beginning, it fully acknowledges Vesper. So and like how it goes back to everything, and is a perfect example of how to end a story with a character and such an the emotions at the end of the film, like how we know this character throughout these films, and like the struggles that he's been through, and like how much sacrifice he has to do. And I can tell that Daniel Craig was so satisfied when he's like finished, like, oh, thank God I won't have to do it again. I felt like he was a lot happier when he was doing this film. I can tell, like, behind the scenes.
It probably helps that he didn't break a leg. On Spectre, he broke like many things, and that's why he was so kind of sick of it when he was done.
But I felt like he was a bit more relaxed with some of the stuff that was happening in No Time to Die. But there was so many great things that he explored. They explored Cuba with Armor de Armas. That was a great sequence as well that I really liked.
Yeah.
Yes. The cinematography was just so different to the other James Bond, the Daniel Craig's films. And I felt like this was more stylish. I think like with the underground bunker with Rami Malek's character in Japan, like how they used the lighting and how it was like fully adding to the mystery to the character. And I really liked that. And the opening of the film was, that was great. The first 15 minutes, cinema. Like,
absolutely amazing.
Used like the opening titles, like for the use. Yeah, and we probably talked about this, but we talked about like the opening titles. Like nobody uses that anymore. Like they don't do opening titles.
They should.
Like, they should, because it brings up what the film's going to be like. Yeah. But the ending of the film.
Let's not be spoiled, but the ending is amazing.
The ending is amazing. It's pure cinema. Like how it goes full circle to the character of James Bond. That scene where he's climbing the ladder. And the soundtrack with that scene. Okay, we're not going to go further along with spoiling. But on this bit, I thought the action sequences were just well used, and I thought it was like skipping a lot of cliches, and I love that. I love they just like skip the cliches because it was more focused on the relationship between James Bond and
Madeline.
It is Madeline.
Yeah,
Madeline.
Yeah,
because my brain was like thinking Madeline in Vertigo. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's almost a similar thing with this final person who is like the one true love. But for me, No Time to Die was an honorable mention for me. It's my 15th favorite film of the year, so again, didn't quite clear the top 10 list. But the reason why it's so astounding is that at this point we're 25 films in. This is the 5th film of Daniel Craig's run as James Bond, and they delivered such an incredible ending. with so much. You're right about the cinematography. It's not quite Roger Deakins' work in Skyfall, but it's incredible. And the way that they use color and lighting and make everything so atmospheric. It's everything that I wanted a film like Endgame to be. And it makes me so happy. And, every single action sequence, every single performance, every single character choice is so well done. The only thing that I don't like is how they introduce a status quo and then they cut to 5 years later, introducing a new status quo. And it just feels like resetting that. It's a little bit dissonant for me. But you know what? I'm so proud of them for coming apart from Spectre, I consider Daniel Craig now has the best run of any James Bond. He has got 4 cracking James Bond films, 3 of which are some of the best of the entire saga. And if they didn't make any more James Bond films from here, I would be absolutely fine with that. I'm happy to leave it here. I'm excited for what comes next, but at the same time, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, no more with Daniel Craig because it's just the perfect end.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
number 2.
But I haven't done my number 3 yet.
Oh, sorry, guys. Just ignore me. Just ignore me.
Well, my number 3 is Promising Young Woman. And for the longest time, this was my number 1 of the year. So, we've properly crossed into the 10 out of 10 absolute perfection tier in this list. And Promising Young Woman is just amazing. As I say, I think it might have won Best Screenplay at the Oscars. I don't know. But it's a film that deals with such traumatic subject matter of past sins and vengeance, and being angry at the whole world for something that happened, not even to you. And it delivers it with such style and flair. And, this film could have been done in such a bleak way, but it doesn't do that. And it takes your emotions on a roller coaster that really aligns you with the titular character. It's an incredible performance by Carey Mulligan. And, you got Bo Burnham here as well, who also brings in an excellent performance. And it has such a social commentary about the treatment that, men can have towards women. And it delivers it so poignantly. And yeah, I'm so happy with what this film does. And it's so important, while also, being a really satisfying film to watch as well. You're really aligned with the characters to the point where all these horrible things that she does are almost justified and then taken to the next level by the twists and the turns of the narrative. When you're watching a film and it does a twist, sometimes it's predictable, but, in this particular case, Promising Young Woman slaps me in the face with its twist. Did not see it coming and I was completely shocked. And, I love it when a film does that. Twists like that show that a film has got you. And this film had me. And I just thought it was amazing. And yeah, I'm literally so excited to see where Emerald Fennell, the director, does next, because yeah, it was amazing. It really was.
I'm just trying to find and trying to get Promising Young Woman on Amazon. But anyway, there's a lot of films that I haven't seen, and I'm like, no, why can't it be this? And why can't it be that? And
yeah, I know. It's just a shame, when, especially at the beginning of the year, cinemas weren't open. So, you had to pay to get films like this. And, it's unfortunate, but there we go. So yeah, number 2, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is, I think I've done something wrong. I might have put The Sound of Metal at 6th place. So can we just put all the films down to 2? It was really hard to do this year's films. I'm like stuck in the corner, just crying and thinking, why can't this be like one of the best films I've seen? But can we do an honorable mentions now? I know what my number 1 is. My number 1 is Last Night in Soho.
Yeah, I knew it would be. I'll talk about my number 2, and then we can do a couple of honorable mentions. Obviously, I've already talked about No Time to Die. That was one of my 2. But yeah, my number 2 is Limbo, and it's just like Shiver Baby. It's just like so many in this list. Films, just I hadn't heard of it, and I thought I'd give that a go.
God.
And my God,
so many films.
there really is just so many films. And I was just astounded by what this film is about. A group of immigrants who are going to the UK, and before they can get like all their visas and their permits like done, they have to like stay in this island in Scotland. And what it is exactly what the title is. It's limbo. They are in a state in between 2 homes. They don't really know what their identity is. They're learning a new language and being taught like weird things about our culture by people who are trained to teach them in etiquette. And it's in some way it's almost satirical, but it's a representation of immigration that you don't really get. And I think it was so important to show, especially, some people who can be really, intolerant to people from other countries, it puts you in those shoes, and it shows you, how difficult it is and how unwelcoming it can be. The main character is somebody who wants to play his musical instrument. I can't remember the musical instrument, but he really wants to play it, and he just wants to have a life and be seen as like an artist. And it's so painful to have to do that while not really, he doesn't really know the language and can't really like connect with people. Added this to the cinematography of the island itself, which is, full of harsh conditions. And might I add, 4:3 aspect ratio, which is used perfectly because there is a scene where the aspect ratio changes from 4:3 into 16:9. It pulls you in closer. It's more intimate. It's beautiful. It's the one scene where, a certain character really feels themselves. And I gotta say, it's such a masterpiece, such a masterful work of everything. And it's funny and emotional at the same time. And it has so much to say about the treatment of immigrants and, their feelings towards these things. And it's just banging. It's a great film. And honestly, it's one of the ones that it's not like a big film. It's not something people have heard of. I doubt it would be nominated for that many like big awards. It totally flew under the rug, but it's amazing. And I really think anyone should go and watch it. I don't remember where it is though. Wherever it is, I'm pretty sure it's on DVD and Blu-ray right now. So anyone can check it out there. But yeah, it's amazing. I really implore everyone to watch it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Noah, give me a couple of your honorable mentions.
Raya and the Last Dragon. Yeah.
Seriously?
I'm kidding.
Okay. Right. Well, I've got one.
Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Yes. Right. I've got one. And now.
Okay, Annette. Okay, I'm gonna give in Annette. I don't like this as a musical because it's weak. This is like the most weakest musical I ever seen. It doesn't really give out a lot of emotion, but the cinematography, that I really like. The cinematography in this film was like really, you would like watching as if you were in the theater, like watching like a stage play that's happening, like unfolding right in front of you. But it was the weirdest film that I've seen this year. Like, no doubt, the whole premise of the story is an opera singer and a comedian give birth to a wooden doll. Yeah,
yes, they do.
Yeah.
That is correct.
That is correct, everyone. If you haven't seen this film, I wouldn't recommend, but also recommend this film because watching it, a very intense film.
I have to disagree with you there. I mean, I loved, and I think if you don't know what you're going into, and I didn't, and I know that you didn't either, you're going to be just completely surprised. But this isn't a musical in the traditional sense. Well, what it is it's a surrealist experience. It has so many qualities of expressionism and surrealism. And, it adds that musical. It's almost like an opera in the way that it's presented. And I think it would work excellently on stage. I think the performances are absolutely outstanding. And once you get past some of those, insane qualities, there's so much to love about it and about the craft that it presents. And it makes me sad that people will flock to go and see The Greatest Showman, and this doesn't get as much of a chance. And I understand that, it's these kinds of films are very difficult for the general public to kind of get behind. But damn it, if I was completely not ready for this film, but I did love it. I'm not gonna lie. It's literally at my number 11. It was so close to being in my number 10.
Yeah,
I've got one other honorable mention, and I swear if I knew what this was, it would probably be at my number 3 on the list.
Oh, wow.
This is Bo Burnham Inside.
I admit that I haven't seen this.
It's incredible, right? Now, I can't, technically this is a TV special, but some people argue it's a film. Nobody can agree on it. So it's not on my list of films, but if it was definitively a film, it would 100% be at my number 3. It is an amazing just study of so many things, of depression and anxiety, and just the experience of being in lockdown in general, and the society that we live in, and the internet. So many different elements that Bo is crafting and looking into, while also letting us into his own insecurities and his own experience of being alone and kind of going a bit mad. This drives the line between documentary and biopic. You don't know if some of the scenes are real or not. Is he actually going crazy, or is he just putting that on to show us? And that's what's so incredible about it. I think it's amazing. And not just that, but every single song, and I mean every single song, is a banger. You might have heard Welcome to the Internet Online, but every single song is a banger. The upbeat ones and the slow ones, and there's just so much to unpack, and it's so incredible, and it doesn't stop. But you just afterwards you just want to watch it again. You want to experience it and listen to all the music, because there's just so much that he is saying about himself and about the world and about his gender and about his race and all races and all genders and sexuality. And there's just so much in there, and it's incredible. And I swear if it was a film, it would be at number 3, but I don't even know if it is a film. So yeah, Burnham Inside is astounding. That is it for me. So let's talk about Last Night in Soho. Your number 1, my number 5.
Wait, what was your number 1?
All in good time, my friend. All in good time. If anyone's seen the thumbnail, literally what's on screen right now, they will know, but all in good time.
Okay, I have no idea. I'm like that person who's just like sitting behind and just like, oh, okay. And just like, literally, it's just behind them. Like,
Yeah,
the biggest...
I have no idea what's going on.
Last Night in Soho, the best film of this year. Edgar Wright, like, created this film, and it might be one of the best horror films I've seen. Like, well, obviously it's one of the best horror films. The way that it was going to the 60s horror, like, no one ever touched. Like, they were balancing like modern, like today's history in the past, with like combining them together into the most devastating and psychological horrors, like, you know, exploring about like Sandy's life, but also talking about like exploring Ellie today and how it all like relates to present and past, and it just works together, and it brings in the horror elements, and it really like talks about the issues about in the 60s, but also the issues today in the present. The way that it was like having like subtle cues in the films, like in the film, like the red flashing, like that knew that Ellie was back into this painful world, like Sandy's world. Yeah, going to Sandy's world of the 60s. And the way that it was going like twists and turns, and it felt like a proper horror film. Like, it was like building up the idea of like what was going to happen. And yeah, and I'm glad that I watched this film in the cinema, because like the opening scene was just amazing. Like, you instantly knew what it was going to be like. The actors in this, Matt Smith, like one of the best actors, Matt Smith, like right there, out there.
What a guy.
And like how it was used, like this character in this film was just so deviously, it just worked together perfectly. I really like the soundtrack. The soundtrack is just used really well, like with the sound mixing and how is that used for horror elements. And this was just one of the best films I've seen. So yeah, Edgar Wright is a genius, and watching it in cinema was just like watching some of the other animes I watched, like some horror animes. This was like pure horror. Yeah, so well done, Edgar Wright. Your film is my favorite film this year. Yeah.
Edgar Wright never ceases to amaze me. He can just dip his toes into any genre and come out with something amazing. He's known for comedy, but what he's been doing in his last couple of films, you know, he's taken on a thriller and a horror. And this film sits among the ranks of his other films as just an absolute amazing piece of cinema. And that's what it is. He tackles some really difficult issues of toxic masculinity and mental health, and just like university society, which I don't even like know how he did that so well, considering, you know, he was at uni so long ago. But you know, I really connected to that, you know, element of it, being uni myself. He does it with such style and with such horror, and the way that scenes twist and flip, and you know, the gaze of it is so kind of mind-bending and critical of the male gaze, which I loved. And the whole thing is just insane. And I had one nitpick, and that was that I felt like Ellie's relationship with her mother wasn't quite, you know, wasn't as much of a through line as it could have been. But honestly, I saw this twice at the cinema, and I never do that. And for context, you know, I avoid watching films twice at the cinema, because, you know, like when I watched Eternal second time, they're normally not as good. But Last Night in Soho, it held up second time, and it was amazing. And yeah, definitely my fifth favorite film of the year, 100%.
Just one of the best films I've seen. Best film, actually. What is your number 1?
It's time.
Oh.
Of course, it's Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Now, let me tell you about Venom.
Yeah, let's go!
Venom! No, it's obviously, of course, the film that I haven't shut up about. It's Another Round. My God.
Oh.
It all makes sense now.
Yes, the film that you should never shut up about, which I didn't hear about, but
It's
Yeah.
so
When did that come out?
I don't even know when it came out, but it's so good. Let me check. I watched it in unlimited screening, so it probably came out a little bit after when I watched it. I think I watched it in like June or something. Another round. I watched it. So it came out in July, so I watched it at the end of June.
Really?
But
It came out? Wow.
yeah, it came out a long time ago, and I haven't shut up about it. That's how good it is. But honestly, this film is just everything to me. So it's a Danish film directed by Thomas Vinterberg, starring Mads Mikkelsen. And first of all, let me just say, one of Mads Mikkelsen's maybe his best performance ever. You'll know him as like villains in Doctor Strange, or I guess now Fantastic Beasts and Hannibal and Casino Royale, and he's in Rogue One. But this film, he just plays as a regular dude who's kind of like tired of everything. And this is a film about a group of guys who read a scientific report that says that the human body exists with alcohol deficiency, and they decide to drink a certain percentage of alcohol each day to get their alcohol levels up, and so they can work better. And as they do that, everything kind of shifts. The film and their kind of perspective and their lives get better because they are drunk, or slightly drunk. And what you get is this incredible exploration of drinking and the benefits of it, but also the side effects and how it can really ruin your life. And it's so emotional, but also really witty and really funny. And it really broke me. There were so many of the issues raised in it that really, really touched me and made me feel, it's the power of cinema that something made me feel that strongly about these issues and about, what these people go through, things that, I myself can relate to. And it's just so good, the highs and the lows of it, and the ways that these characters cling on to this one thing that they believe can make their lives so much better, when the film's message overall tells something different. And seeing them go from how they are at the beginning to how they are at the end, or even in the middle, so many different levels of it as the alcohol consumption gets more and more and more, and it ends with this just mad dance, just celebration of life, and and the joys of being alive, which has just a hint of reflection and depression in it, as this enjoyment comes from something that can really ruin everything for you. This film was made in tragic circumstances because Thomas Vinterberg, he lost his daughter, who was very much like, making this film alongside it. And you can see the love and the joy that went into it. And, what he has said, he wants people to get out of it, this kind of feeling of appreciation for life. You do get that, but it also really just drags you through the dirt and just shows you all these horrible things that, for me, it shook me. I never leave the films. I never leave a film at the cinema speechless. I always have so many things to say. I'm the most annoying guy. I'm just like nattering away, but this one just floored me. I had nothing to say. It was so beautiful. And if there's anything that you take away from today, it's goddamn watch another round and watch Last Night in Soho, because they are both just cinema of the highest order.
Yes. Let me see if it's still available. So
don't worry, John, I've got the Blu-ray. You can borrow it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Yeah,
that's that. Then
a lot of films that I missed.
Well, that's all right. I mean, that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. I mean, that's it for another year, though, isn't it?
Oh.
I mean, last year we did our best films 2020. Now best films 2021. What's next? 2022. The Batman. If the Batman isn't at the top of my list next year, what am I going to do? I'm so excited for the Batman. But you will hear about that next week. We're going to be doing a video on most anticipated films 2022. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more. We're going to do The Matrix the week after. I'm sorry we were supposed to do that this week, but I literally only just finished the original trilogy today. And yeah, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at outtatimefilmpod, or give us an email about at outtatimefilmpod.com at gmail at outtatimefilmpod@gmail.com. Let us know your favorite films of the year. Let us know if you like the films you brought up. Just give us your general thoughts on it. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's everything. Right.
Brilliant. Well,
cool.
Take us out, John.
Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.